you know.
said as part of putting the earth into existence, it included skies and the layers of the skies.
No, there's no such. In the Quran, there's no
And there's
mention.
enough sustenance and food for all of life.
No. In the Quran, it doesn't say how long it took.
In the first 6 or 7 days, at some point, maybe on the 5th, 6th day, I don't know when, but during the course of those 6 days of creation, there is enough food for sustenance of all of life. So
When you
all
say-
of life and Adam and Eve were created by them.
When you say 6 days, how do you
That's
understand
wrong.
it? How do you understand it? You just mentioned 6 days.
Days,
of creation.
24
How do you
hours.
understand it?
It means
24 hours.
It means 4.5 billion years. 6 days means 4.5 billion
It,
years.
look, hold on.
No.
I don't mean to basically mock
And then
you.
we
I just want to ask you, what do you understand?
I
from
was
it?
mocking you.
No, that's what. If you want a
But if
conversation,
you're going to write 6
then
days,
try to understand
if
what you're
you're
talking
going to write
about.
6 days,
Yeah.
and then 2 years later, as part of the verses or the other chapters in that book being revealed from Muhammad, a couple of years later he had a footnote that says these 6 days mean some other measurement.
It says in the Quran. What are you
It
on
says
about?
already
You
on the
see, what
Quran.
does
It does
It's
say
not
on
like
the
a
page.
Bible.
You know, when
Bible,
you
yeah, Bible,
start
you're right.
talking
It's
about
right
things
about
you
the
have no
Bible
clue
6 days.
about, you
And
don't
the
look
rest is
very
on the
clear.
7.
It does
And
say-
he fresh.
it does.
In the Bible,
No,
not in the
but
Quran.
The Quran refers to during the course of these 2
Period.
days.
It says 6 period.
Well,
6 period.
Well, okay, the Arabic can mean
Ayyam
day
is a
as well
period.
as period.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it also says a day
Therefore,
equals
but if it's a
50,000
god-
years as well.
But if it's a god,
Yeah.
he might easily tell you how many millions of years it took.
No,
Instead of saying,
it doesn't
It's not a
have.
science book. It's not a science book.
It's not.
Allah could have told you that the dinosaurs existed before we found out there were dinosaurs.
It's not a science book.
But you see, the purpose of the Quran is not to
It's a
tell
sign.
you exactly
It's
how
a
many
sign.
billions
If
of
it
years
had
it
have
took.
done, it would have provided proof and evidence.
You see what you're trying to do there?
And
Is
we
that
see
you're
that-
trying to say
we
the book
see-
has to say exactly what I want.
Yeah.
Why?
Sure, but you started a minute ago by saying there's
saying
nothing
what?
wrong with your book.
Wait. I didn't say there was nothing.
You
I said there's no contradiction in it.
Contradiction.
No, the person that wrote, the person that said 6 days, or you don't know if he meant periods, and only the
We
periods.
do know.
we knew.
We do.
We know that.
We
Interrupted
knew.
me. Be
We
fair,
know- we
be
know
fair.
that.
You don't actually know if he meant days,
How do you
or because it says a word that means various things.
Do you know Arabic?
You just told. I don't need to. You just told me. it
He
means
said the word
period,
ayam.
it
Wait, the
means
word
period,
ayam.
day and time.
Yeah, the word ayam. And then another part of the Quran says a day equals 50,000 years for that particular time.
Which
So
still
it's very
wouldn't
clear.
add up.
It's very clear.
It still
It
wouldn't
doesn't
add
matter. It doesn't matter. What I'm saying is that.
Yeah,
And by the way, wait.
For angels it's one thing, and for
Wait.
God it's another thing.
And
it still doesn't.
And
add
one
up
thing
to
you need to
4.5
realize that
billion years.
you know how the Arabs used to speak when they speak in idioms. They say, for example, in English you might say, "Don't make a mountain out of a molehill." Yes. Do you take that literally? No. In Arabic, when they say 50,000 years, it means a long time.
Sure.
It doesn't literally
But
have
for
to
you
mean
to
even
say that
50,000
that's
years.
not a contradiction or it's not
It's not a
false.
contradiction.
It's not.
If you take into account the idioms that the Arabic speak,
Sure, but it's
then
not right either.
Why?
Because if you wrote that instead of 6 youngs, if you actually said that it was equivalent to this amount of days,
Science.
You really think
then
it's a
you're
science book,
providing.
don't you?
Then you're. But how difficult for that? Is
No, wait. You really think it's a science book?
Do you
don't
know how many people stopped being Christians because of that?
Christians.
Stop
We're
being
not talking about
Muslim and
Christians.
stop being
Really?
Christian.
Show me one Muslim who's not a Muslim.
Many people that
Give
I
me one
know.
name, go on.
Many people
Give me
that I
one
know
name.
on my
Because
Facebook.
of this particular reason, this ayah, that they said they become
They stopped to be
believing
Muslim.
as a Muslim.
Not just that, but
And do you know how many atheists became Muslims by reading that?
Well, there
There you go. So we could argue both ways.
Sure, we could, but the point is, because that can be used as a tool for apostasy and a tool to recruit people to the religion, it works both ways.
What
So it
apostasy?
gives a
And you know, by the way, as an
neutral
atheist,
effect. Whereas
wait.
the God could easily say, without giving equations and whatever
You know,
else,
let's-
the God could
let's be
easily
honest
say
here. You haven't
that
actually
this adds
looked-
up to billions of years.
Let's be honest.
And it
You
didn't.
actually haven't looked into the Quran, have
Therefore,
you?
that's equivalent to the person that actually did write the book, if I'm wrong,
That's because you expect it to be like
didn't
that. Doesn't mean
know.
it has to be.
The person that, if I'm wrong, maybe Muhammad or some friends of Muhammad helped produce this text, or maybe as the Birmingham
Where's the
text,
evidence for that?
Or maybe as the Birmingham.
Where's the evidence for that?
I'm not saying there's evidence.
Well, you said maybe,
you go
maybe,
on faith.
maybe.
I don't need evidence. You go on faith. I'm just giving you an example.
Well, you go on faith as well.
I'm
The
giving you an
universe came from
example.
nothing. That's faith.
But his faith is based on a good
That's
reason.
faith. So let's say
His
Joseph
faith is,
Smith.
he got a reason.
Joseph Smith produced the Book of Mormon in a very similar way to the Quran. Similar, I said. And there's things that Joseph Smith said in the Book of Mormon that you could bend and twist for meaning so that it's not wrong as well, such as 6 yom, 6 days, whatever. If you're specific, then you'll get more people accepting this text as valid. Whereas if you write the text and you don't know,
what you're trying to
for
do
example,
is you're
like-
expecting a holy book to be like a science book. It is not a
I'm
science book.
explaining to you why.
It is not a science
because if you don't know nothing and you write a book that doesn't know nothing and it demonstrates.
Why do you say
you're
it doesn't know
demonstrating-
nothing?
You're either demonstrating that it's not a science book because that's your preference. Has he read it?
It is not a science book.
You only say it's not a science book because it's not a science book, but you could.
Of course it's not.
You could put. Of course I have. You've read the Quran? Yes.
You have actually read the Quran, seriously?
Yes, I have.
Then why would you make a mistake like what's the difference between ayam and the days, 6 days?
Yeah.
Because the translation
Does
in
it say
English
day?
said days.
In English, say days.
And
But
if
have you
you
read
go
the-
to Quran.com, it will say days.
.com.
And if you go to
Quran.com.
Corpus,
But wait a minute,
Corpus Quran.com,
Wait a minute.
Islamophobia is-
You know what you're doing is that you're saying the Quran has to be
point is,
specific
even-
to what you should understand as me.
if you had specificity,
you know something?
if you specify correct
Can I
stuff,
say that as an atheist,
then
you
can
have
say
faith in certain
then
things as well?
If you specify stuff, only then can you say the book's not wrong. If you say text that can't be proven wrong or right, you can't say the book doesn't.
Have you actually
mistakes
believed in
it.
something that you were not
Because
certain
if the
of?
book is just full of ambiguous things that could be this or it could mean that.
Let me ask-
So it can be wrong. 6 days can be wrong.
For you-
and 6 yums
No,
could be
it
right.
cannot be. He's
You
just
see, it is for
telling
you to find out
he's
what is
not.
wrong. That's all. Let me ask you something. Have you ever?
Yeah, but the only way that humans
Well, let
try
me
to
have a
do
word in
that,
between this guy.
the only way that humans try to find out if it's wrong is use science, and then religion says science is rubbish when it
Can I ask you a
when it
question without
disagrees with
interrupting?
religion.
Can I ask you a question
Yeah,
without
go ahead.
interrupting?
I'm gonna
Have you
go
actually
in- I'm gonna go after you.
have you actually believed in something
I
that you
just
have?
came down here to look for a friend.
You're still doing it.
So I'll be gone after this question.
That's fine.
Go
That's
ahead with
fine.
your question.
Yeah. Have you actually believed in something that you do not have concrete evidence for?
Yes,
You have.
Yes.
Why can't we do the same?
you can.
There we go.
But,
End of story.
But the difference for me
It's what?
is that there's certain things that I believe
What
in.
you just said is faith.
This doesn't. What I'm going to say to you does not speak about you. It talks about the. I'm going to get there. And like I said, I'm going to go look for my friend anyway, right? So I'm not talking to you, but I am talking that it affects humans in different ways. Certain texts in the Quran and
No, answer the question I asked you.
in certain texts.
How can what you just said is not faith?
I'm answering your question.
What was my
Certain
question?
types of faith.
Wait, what
What's
was
the
my
question?
Certain types
What's
of-
the
What was
question?
my question?
No, the question.
Is there anything that I believe in that doesn't have
No,
evidence?
you
for
already
it?
said yes. I'm asking you, how is that different to the faith that
I'm
I
telling
believe
you
in?
why.
Okay, go on.
I'm telling you why. Because some faiths, some well.
No, tell me about your faith.
Yours.
have a faith or
You
worldview.
just said you believe in certain things which you don't have evidence for.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah, I
faith.
believe that dragons don't exist, and I've got no
No.
evidence for that.
But wait, you said don't exist or exist?
Don't exist.
No, I remember
We're
the question I
same.
asked you. Do you believe in anything that you don't have evidence for?
Yeah,
Not what you don't believe in.
In dragons not being real.
Yeah, but that's not evidence. That's
Correct, that's my whole point, that's my
Yeah, basically you don't believe in them. If you believed in them
Sure.
without evidence, then yes, you got a point.
Okay.
Okay, so answer the question once again. What is it that you believe in
I believe
that you don't have
I
evidence
believe that
for?
Mars used to have an atmosphere,
Okay.
but there is
Is
evidence.
that faith-based or
Yeah,
evidence-based?
it's absolutely faith-based.
Okay, so how is it different to anyone else's faith?
Actually, it has evidences that lead to that, although they're not absolutely concrete evidences. Therefore, that's my definition
Let
of
me
faith.
ask you a more specific
And
question.
why don't I have a problem with that kind of faith, and I have a problem with present day 7th century or older religions? Because look at the history of those religions. They have led to lots of violence. This, the Sunni
I
and
go
Shia
to religion now. It's about God. It's
Are you
about
saying
God,
atheism didn't
about
have any violence?
faith.
No,
No, not at all.
I'm not saying
Not
that.
at all.
Don't go to religion.
So what's the
But
point?
there's no text.
Yeah.
There's no text that causes people to behave in that way.
No text.
There-
You don't need a text to
As an
behave
atheist.
immorally. You don't need a text to behave
Yes,
like
but
an
if you
animal.
do have a
Do you
text-
really need a text?
If you've got a town of 50,000 people that wouldn't have done some bad, they wouldn't have invaded other towns over there, say on the outskirts of Mecca.
Like
They wouldn't-
Americans, they
wouldn't
did.
They wouldn't have invaded those towns over there if they didn't have this text they thought they were going to get rewarded in the afterlife for. Otherwise, it's the only thing most
So
people
you're saying those people who were atheists and they committed genocide.
Genocide, yeah, they
Which
are.
book did they refer to?
Yeah, but there's no text that makes them do that.
Exactly my point.
And that's
You
So
don't
you
need
don't
a
need a book.
religion. Exactly, I know
So you
that.
cannot
So what are you
be
blaming? What are you blaming the book?
The history of
my
religions have
God.
added
What are you
to
blaming
Okay,
the
you
book?
know, let me be more specific about the point I was making. About having witnesses, about having evidence, yeah? Do you believe in testimony?
No.
Not at all?
You mean human?
Yes,
mum.
human testimony.
No.
Ask him his own
Wait, wait.
process, yeah.
Which is
Do you-
why
Okay, let me
I
ask
said
you
my
this.
evidence to believe in the evidence that is concrete evidence.
That's fine.
For the atmosphere in Mars,
Let me ask you this. Do you believe...
Testimony is weak, my friend.
What's your name, by the way?
Even journalists can't go by
Okay.
the
Okay,
testimony
it's
of people that they
Hear
see
him. Hear the
around
question then.
when they go.
What's your name?
Glenn.
Glenn. Do you believe your dad is your dad?
Yes.
Have you done DNA test?
Yes.
You have?
Yes.
Okay. If you hadn't done DNA test, would you believe...
We used this firm, I don't know, 23andMe or something.
Maybe it's fake.
But yeah.
What about DNA test on your
But
mom?
that would involve
You done that?
No.
You haven't done. How do you know that you came from your mom?
it's faith.
Faith.
But
Testimony.
but it
Yes.
could be wrong, and that's
But
why.
you said you didn't
and
believe in testimony.
this is the-
Now you believe your mom's testimony.
I do, yeah.
But you just said earlier, a minute ago, you don't believe in testimony
Sure,
of humans.
but this only happened 30 years ago when I was
Regardless,
born. I've taken
regardless, your
10 years off
principle,
my
you're going
age.
against your principle.
Sure, but it's difficult for her to make.
Do you still believe you're her son? 30 years ago, that's fine.
I'm not sure. No.
Oh, now
No, you're not sure. You
If
see.
you want
Okay, Glenn.
if you want to use
Take 10
evidence,
minutes.
but this is the
Go
point.
look for your
You have
friend.
to use evidence.
Go
You
look for
don't
your
know
friend.
own moms. This is the point.
Therefore, it's ridiculous to go on my mum's testimony. Yes, it is.
Honestly, I
The
know,
doctors-
Glenn,
the doctors-
I've heard many atheists.
You
but
said
this is
you
the
don't
ones that
believe in
doctors-
Could have muddled me up in the hospital, and I and my mum is wrong.
That's fine.
So
You know,
you're
if every
right.
atheist believed
You're-
like you,
so you're
they would
right.
stop
Testimony-
trusting their mothers.
Do you
and
have a parent lived 1,000 years ago?
You're right.
Do you believe you have a
If
parent
every
believe
atheist
your
went-
mum.
1,000 years
Your
ago?
mum can make a
Trust
mistake.
me, your day-to-day life would become impossible if you start looking for evidence all the time. For example, when you go to your doctor, do you ask him to show his certificates to you?
Certificate, yeah.
Do you?
To
Or do you just
operate
trust
on
the
you.
NHS?
To
Do you
operate
trust the
on you.
testimony of the NHS?
Yeah. You would trust the testimony of
So,
other people.
why are you
But
rubbishing
that's
it before?
Thank you, Glenn.
Because that hasn't been handed down. The reason you asked me this in the beginning, but you just don't allow me to explain.
Really?
You said you don't
I
believe.
have two
No, no, no.
sentences. I have two sentences.
Thank you.
I have two sentences to ask the answer the man's question.
No, go on.
That was nice for me.
I have two sentences to answer the man's
Yeah, go on.
question. I only finished the first one, and I get ridiculed on the first one.
No,
But the second one,
we haven't
the second
ridiculed
sentence
you.
might
You said you don't believe
qualify
in
it.
testimony. It
You
seems
said
like
you
you
don't
do.
believe, you don't take
No,
testimony.
I'm saying that testimony is really bad evidence. I said,
Even for doctor.
yes, it's
To
bad
go
evidence.
have
How would,
operation, you
how
have
would
to ask
anyone
him.
go to the doctor then if they don't believe in testimony?
However,
Yeah.
we know by doing some science of doing studies about what's happened with this group and what's happened with this group, when they tell of a story like what happened in
We're talking about doctors, mate. Explain that.
I know.
How would you go about your daily life without believing in any, what do you say, any
No,
testimony
hold
from
on.
humans? How?
Where are you from? Are you from here?
I am, yeah.
If you want to go holiday, would you go to TripAdvisor to see what's going on
Yes.
there, or you not?
But that's different.
So why you
testimony
go to
that type of
TripAdvisor?
testimony.
Why is it different?
Why
Good
TripAdvisor is
question.
different?
That's it. Ask why.
Because
It's
earlier you
testimony
said
of
you don't believe in
people.
any human testimony.
TripAdvisor is testimony of
All you're
people
doing
who
is
they
using the word
experienced it.
testimony, but testimony has about 5 or 6.
No, but Glenn, I asked you very
My friend,
specifically.
let me answer.
Yeah, he
And you
used
said I don't
TripAdvisor,
believe in
see.
human testimony.
Let me please finish
Okay,
what
go
I
on.
was saying.
Fair
We're
enough.
using a word which is very fluffy.
No, it's
right?
not. It's very specific.
You're interrupting again. We're using a word of testimony, but there are 5 or 6 different facets of testimonies.
Which are?
For example, if it was an eyewitness, and then if it was an eyewitness account that happened over 5,000 years.
No, give me your example of
Rubbish
testimony.
in all religion.
I'm not talking about religions now. I'm talking about you. I'm talking about your testimony.
So the word.
How will you believe in testimony?
So therefore, the testimony to believe a doctor.
It's over there. I'm just telling the brother.
Sat in a doctor's room, and you've known him for years. That's not just testimony because it relies on evidence. You haven't realised this. The evidence
I
being
convinced
is there's no way. I won't say no way. It's very implausible that he'd keep getting paid to come and sit in that chair as a doctor without his credentials being renewed, without going on courses during the year, and then no one realising you're not actually.
What about
a
TripAdvisor?
GP.
Actually, many
it
NHS
will-
doctors were
over-
found out like that.
Exactly.
They were quacks.
Exactly.
And they were getting paid for years.
Exactly.
So your answer
So
really
therefore,
doesn't...
to accept a doctor as the doctor isn't just a testimony of him sitting there saying he's a doctor. It relies on texts
You miss my point.
around
I'm
it,
saying that you're
which is
you're
why I
going
said
based
testimony
on
has a lot of different
yeah, but
meanings.
you're still going based on testimony of the people in NHS. Just because you happen to visit the same doctor every year on, it isn't. You might be visiting maybe once a year, twice a year,
But he should
unless
have,
you're really
he
sick.
could have got caught out over the years.
He could have, but maybe he couldn't shouldn't have either.
Which is why testimony is bad.
Exactly. I didn't say it was
You've just
perfect.
proven it's bad.
No, I didn't say it was perfect.
Sure.
But for you to say I do not believe in human
He says
testimony,
you don't believe
that
on
was
it
a
at all.
gross error on your part.
You put it
agree.
aside,
No,
basically.
because like I said to you, there's about 5
It's,
different...
it's,
You said it now after I told you
he's
your
taking
mom-
it back. He's taking it back.
It depends
Hashim is taking it back, I think.
Yeah, I think it's making-
He's taking it back.
Because
You
God-
are taking it back now.
I'm taking it back. Reason
Good,
being is
good,
when you
good.
said the
So
word
as long
testimony,
as-
I thought of one facet of. There
Why
are
would
5
you-
or he's interrupting again.
Why would
There's
you
about
assume
5
that?
or 6 different facets of it. So I was just thinking of one of them. I'm not, but to him, he's trying to take it that I'm saying that every 5 or 6 of the facets of testimony are strong evidence. They're not,
So-
and I wouldn't ever say that.
Let me ask you another example from scientific perspective. Do you believe every scientist done every experiment the previous scientists have done?
Oh no, they haven't. There's evidence that they haven't done it.
But do they go based on the testimony of certain people?
Before them, yeah.
Without even looking at the evidence that they have produced?
Some of them have, and that's been highlighted as a
He says the
mistake
same.
and something that science has improved upon not to do that.
No, but do they still do it?
Not sure.
I wouldn't expect every scientist to look at every single
He says some.
experiment out there
Sure.
and every single theory out there. They would take it based on, for example,
Yes.
Einstein is a trustworthy guy. We believe him.
No.
Okay, so I'm not going to repostulate the E is equal to
it's
MC
not,
square again.
It's not Einstein.
It's an example I gave
It's
you.
not Einstein that's trustworthy. It's the mathematics that Einstein wrote that's trustworthy.
Yeah, but his
You didn't go
mathematics is
through
what
them?
you trust. His
Yes, I have.
results in
All.
his mathematics is what you trust, not his degree in mathematics.
You don't have to go through all. He only did about 2 theories, and they all package out into 2 different equations. And those
Trustworthy,
Those
basically.
2 different equations cover everything.
So
that
basically it's
Einstein ever said.
And
trustworthy.
that's what I'm telling you.
Trustworthy,
Glenn.
basically.
In order for you to lead a normal life, you
Equations
will
either
have
wrong
to
or right.
rely
So
on
it's trustworthy
evidence.
or
It's the same
Or
what
you
he's
throw it
saying.
away.
It's the same what he's saying. The Quran, when he sent down to Muhammad alayhi salam, he was a trustworthy. And what, by the way, from there to now,
The Book
it's
of Mormon is trustworthy to Mormons, but not to you.
No, when you say trustworthy,
And the Book of Mormon was produced in very similar way to the Quran, whereby an angel was speaking to Muhammad, and then Joseph Smith had angels influencing what he would write down. He was translating from golden tablets or something like that. So instead of it being a voice through into Muhammad's head that he spoke, Joseph Smith, instead of it being precisely like that, he used golden tablets that he then said what he reckoned it said.
see,
on the
that's
golden tablets.
that's why I say you don't know much about Islam.
When you analyze what he's saying, that's how you know.
But if there's nothing in what Joseph Smith said that can be analysed, for example, 6 yums, this, that, and the other, they have multiple
gibberish, basically gibberish.
meanings. 6 days is an incorrect meaning. If they have incorrect meanings and correct meanings, and you couldn't know which
No
one
way.
you actually meant.
That's why you look at the
Again.
You read Joseph Smith's book. Would you know what God wants from you? Would you know how you're saved? Would you know these things? Saved, as in
salvation.
salvation.
Oh, but salvation is just an invented idea in the first place.
Right. Why? That's your opinion. But
That
I'm
you just
asking
assume.
I'm asking you, if you look at Christian Bible,
What's his purpose of life? His purpose.
look at
His
Jewish
purpose.
Bible, it tells
No,
about
but
Get him
the
the
point
purpose.
is,
Where's the
the book
salvation
was
of Joseph
produced
Smith?
in a similar way. There are no errors in the Book of Mormon either. But his argument was there's no errors in the Quran.
There's nothing in it for you.
There's no
either.
And
accountability
the
for what we
reason
do.
for that is there's nothing in it that you can measure and test.
But there's nothing in it for you.
There is.
if you-
Look,
if you
there
write
is-
a book that
I
just-
told you there is no contradictions in the Quran. What if I show you contradictions in Joseph Smith's book? Then what?
Would you reject it?
There aren't any contradictions in the Book of Mormon.
Really?
You read it all? You read it all?
No.
There you go. How would you know there's no contradiction?
Faith.
Oh, now you all of a sudden believe
It's
in faith.
okay with you.
Blind
You-
faith
you-
then.
faith,
That's a
you
blind
should, You
faith.
should think it's okay because I believe it's okay.
No, you
I think
haven't
it's
read
okay,
it
but
and
you're
you
in
believe
denial,
it.
even though you believe in faith.
Without reading it. That's what we call
There are different
blind
types of
faith.
and there are different types of testimony.
Just quick
You know, that
question.
is something I agree with you.
And some
I agree
testimony-
with you
some
totally there.
testimonies
Just-
actually-
But to deny either of them
some
is
testimonies
completely wrong
have
either.
been built
As well.
on evidences.
Because-
hard evidence.
And we believe that as well.
Because
See,
you-
look, in Islam we do not say no to evidence. We believe in evidence, we believe in
You
testimony.
would not be able to get that sign printed up with the NHS logo and all the rest of it outside his office door or on the wall that's owned by the local council. You've got to go through all various different kinds of, they're not necessarily tests, but they act as tests.
There have been quack doctors who have been found out and who have slipped through the system.
So
They
it's
have.
not
So it's
testimony.
not impossible.
It's going on circle now. It's going on circle. Just because we touch a little bit on salvation. I might ask you, my brother in
Salvation
humanity.
for what?
No. I just want to ask you a question.
I got put into existence.
Not in salvation,
I
not
got
in
put
salvation.
Into existence. Hold on a second.
Hear me out,
I
hear me
got
out.
put into existence, and without any evidence at all, I can
Good.
I can get punished. for
I don't
choosing the
disagree.
wrong religion. How is that
I don't
salvation?
disagree with your way of thinking. All what I'm trying to say or ask a question. Do you have a purpose of your life?
Yes.
What is your purpose?
The purpose of my life is what biology makes me do.
And your kids? You have kids?
Yes.
You have kids?
Yes.
Would you tell them they have a purpose on life? Or
Yes, I tell them how to find purpose in life.
what is
I
your
show
purpose?
them-
What is your purpose?
Show them how to find purpose.
What is your purpose?
My purpose is to live day by day and enjoy the sun and enjoy my kids growing up and changing
And die, and
learning
that's it?
things, and we die. We become worm food. Why not?
what's the difference between
we
humans
spend
and
our
animals?
entire existence
What's the
eating
difference
chickens
between you-
and lamb.
Exactly.
We're eating nature. Why can't nature eat
What's
us?
the difference then between us and animals?
Animals have different types of ways of living,
Yeah,
different
and
ways
we-
of doing things, which are right for them, and it enables their continuation.
Instant.
No, but your purpose of life doesn't seem very different to
on.
that dog's over
That
there.
dog, yeah.
Hold on a second.
Because it is born.
Yes, but I'll
it,
explain.
it eats, it procreates,
Doesn't
and it
matter.
dies.
It doesn't matter.
It
That's-
does.
Hold on.
You must have some
It
purpose
does
in life.
according to your man-made religion idea.
No, based on what you said, that's exactly what they do.
But-
they
but
are
hold
born,
on a sec.
they eat,
If a
they
human be-
procreate, and they die.
But if it's true that humans were created, then what those humans are doing, they were created to do that.
Okay,
again?
so
If it's true that humans were created by a being
Yeah.
with an intent to be as humans are,
Yes.
and then humans
With a
behave,
free will.
and then humans behave as humans, well, humans were made to do that.
No,
then,
there's a
weren't
free will. You see, when God made humans, God did not just leave man. No, you asked me a
they?
question.
There
Let
are
me
certain
answer.
things like feeding ourselves.
You made
and-
yourself clear. Let me
and
respond to
sex
that.
and having fun, music or whatever.
can you
You see, for God to just create someone and leave them like that, yes, you got a point, but God didn't do that. God gave every human being guidance on this earth how to live a life that is
Yes.
that is clear and that is beneficial to yourself and to the society as large. As for atheists, where do you get your standards of morals from? For
nature.
example, what do you mean from
nature?
From nature.
Okay, let me.
Like I was just trying to explain to you a minute ago,
lion
when
before he
you
met.
interrupted me. I think it would have made a lot more
It's
sense
nature.
for you if you'd let me finish the sentence. But I stopped to listen to you. Although you haven't added any meaning to what I was going to say, I'm going to try
Okay,
and
make
add
your
meaning
point,
to
go.
The point is, we inherent in us the chemicals. Some of us have too many chemicals that don't make us happy, make us depressed. We want to kill ourselves or not take part in society, stay at home, be a recluse. We have chemicals that do different things in our body. It's all biology, right? So chemicals that make you feel happy, chemicals that make you feel sad, chemicals that make you feel interested in something or not interested in something. It's all biology. They're all biological chemicals, and we can actually measure them. And we know what do the molecules look like when someone's depressed, with the different hormones and whatever.
Really?
Yes, really. So the point is, we're driven by all of those things. It's all biology. So the biology that makes me desire to have sex, to reproduce,